Welcome. I'm Melva Persico. Come with me and meet new people as we take our culture to the world. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're going to talk with Tracie Frese, and Tracie represents Upstate International. And as some of you know, I live in South Carolina, and the area of South Carolina in which I live is called the Upstate. So I'm going to ask Tracie to introduce herself and then tell us a bit about Upstate International.
Hi, Melva. Thank you so much for having us today. I am Tracie Frese. I'm the Executive Director of Upstate International. Upstate International is located in downtown Greenville, South Carolina, a great area in the whole Southeast region, really, with kind of a unique position in global engagement and all of the international business and international cultures and education that find the Upstate to be their home.
Okay, yes, and I would like you now, thank you so much for that brief introduction. If you could just go on to give us a little more detail about the organization, maybe a brief history, maybe your mission and your goals.
I'd love to. Upstate International came out of the need, really a necessity to help incoming international families who were moving here with industry, some now 24 years ago, to help them have a way to connect with our community and really make the Upstate feel like home. So research has shown that when you have an international company and the leadership from the top down engages in the community and really feels like a part of it, then those are the businesses that tend to stay. Mm-hmm. So we had what we call our founders who saw that need and decided to form an organization to help support those incoming families. It started with an international women's group for spouses, language help for learning English, help with things like where to go to find a doctor, to get your driver's license, to enroll in school, items that these days it is much easier to learn about via the internet and through many companies. But 24 years ago, it was a little more difficult. So we began in that way. And then over this last 2 decades, we've grown to both increase our language classes, our global education interaction, but also to really grow in celebrating all of those cultures that have now come to the Upstate. We celebrate them through social events, through celebrations such as International Month in the month of March, and also through opportunities with speakers on global topics and fun activities like Salsa at sunset, which we hold 3 times a year. So the organization has really blossomed, and about 5 years ago now, we also joined World Affairs Councils of America, which is a nationwide association of organizations such as ours that are really dedicated towards awareness on certain issues, global business, foreign affairs and foreign policy, and global impact issues and education. So we added that to our mix. And yeah, it's been an amazing journey. And these days we find our plate very full with the opportunities to share all of this.
And I know when you introduced, when you started telling us about the organization, you really did address what I had in my next ask, which had to do with the need for such an organization in the area. Why was there the need? But what I want to ask now, though, would be what would be the value? I mean, we understand, okay, there was the need. And maybe you did address this, but what would be the value? What is the value of having an organization like Upstate International in this community?
You know, we took a look a couple of years ago through the help of Clemson MBA program at what our community impact really has been. So where are we impactful? And there are a number of ways. Besides the fact that we help international people moving here kind of make friendships that literally have spanned decades, and also give them opportunities to share their talents, like through language training or cultures. Beyond that, we show a great intentional value placement for incoming trade and industry, because we are showing through this organization that we care about helping them find the right home for their companies. And that's a great thing. It shows that we are a hub, that we can help connect to other organizations, businesses, resources with other organizations and efforts to kind of make this hub of information flow. Otherwise, information gets siloed, right? Sometimes you don't have a clear path to find out what you need. So even if we can't provide the answer, we're pretty good at making sure we can find out who can provide you with that, the right connection you need to find the answer. So that shows value as well. And then just the fact that there is a concentrated effort by the whole upstate region to celebrate the diversity that is a part of our landscape. It's opened, that welcoming door to other opportunities. And it's really significantly changed our economy. It's changed our interactions as human beings. It's broadened our mindsets. I think we're kind of a unique place here in the whole Southeast region. We are the sweet spot. Everyone knows Greenville is currently a sweet spot, but I think a huge part of that is our mindset towards cultures and diversity and engagement.
And I remember you told me when we spoke on the phone a few weeks ago, you mentioned the number of companies, of international companies that are located in this region. Do you remember that number?
Yes, it shifts a little bit, but I pull my statistics from one of our wonderful organizations we partner with, Upstate South Carolina Alliance, who really works on the economic development of this region. They kind of track all of those numbers, but the most recent one I looked at, I think, was around 564 internationally owned companies in the upstate.
Yes.
And percentage of our population that is employed by foreign-owned companies. I'm not sure about today, but in the last couple of years, it was the highest percentage in the whole nation of our population employed by these global business opportunities, which has a very significant impact through our entire economy.
Yes, definitely. And so indeed, there is need and value for having an organization like Upstate International in this region. Now, you mentioned when you were talking about the organization in general, some of the services that you offer, some of the programs and services. So maybe we could talk in a little more detail about some of these. For instance, you mentioned language classes. So would you like to expand a little bit on that, please?
Absolutely, I would. Language learning is an area that going into 2020, we are actually really targeting to work on growth in further. 2019 was kind of a banner year for us right before COVID hit. We had about 400 butts and seats, as you want to say, maybe, seats filled with language learners. That was huge for a small nonprofit like ours. During COVID, we moved all of the classes online. We did see a significant drop in language attendance, but we are building back up. We have started moving classes back into the center as well as online. We'll keep a mix. But at our high point, we've taught up to about 14 different languages. Those languages do vary based on semesters. We do a semester system, and the classes offered are widely affected by availability of our teachers.
Wow, 14 languages. Well, that's more than we teach in my department. So yeah,
and again, which classes we offer depends on our teacher availability. A large portion of our teachers volunteer, which is an unbelievable asset. And a large number of those teachers are individuals who themselves are multilingual and just highly talented and make the classes very different than maybe you've had in high school or college, because they do interact widely on their culture as well, and explain when you're learning the language from them why you don't say things in the same manner that you would say in English by just switching out words in another
Right.
language. They really put context in, and
Yes.
they make it fun. You know, Upstate International, a big part of what we do is make global engagement fun, and pique people's curiosity. That's what we want to do. So whether people are learning for travel, or they're learning because it will improve their business skills, or they're learning because perhaps their new son or daughter-in-law comes from another country. There are different attendees in those classes, and the teachers do a great job of engaging them.
Wow. And so what levels do you have in terms of the language classes? Do you go from beginners to advanced, or how is it?
We do. We do. So depending again on the semester, all our languages will go from beginner 1, 2, and 3 to intermediate, advanced, and then advanced conversational. Advanced conversational requires that you already be doing very well in the language.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, we have what we call conversation clubs. So in both English and Spanish, we have these side opportunities for you to come and just work on speaking. And those classes are free of charge with your registration fee. And you can just come and practice conversing with each other. Our English language conversation club in particular is an amazing thing to witness and to be a part of, because we have people from all over the world. Wow. And we have a facilitator in there who brings in a topic, and shares the intricacies of how you talk about that subject matter. There's a lot of laughter. And there's a lot of chances to build that skill.
Yes, that's interesting. Yes, because indeed, if people who have moved here, let's say, for instance, whose English is not their first language, and being able to, to converse with fluency is so important. And that's the contextualization of the language and what you say when and how, that's an extremely important part of learning a language and actually being a part of the culture. So yes. You mentioned also certain cultural events. So, and I know you did highlight Salsa at Sunset, but if you could maybe talk a little bit more about that, and what are some of the other cultural events that Upstate International sponsors, and maybe what the community engagement is, maybe how the community is involved in those events.
Sure, I can. I'll start with Salsa at Sunset since we've mentioned it. Salsa at Sunset was begun the year I was hired here by an amateur dance group who was looking for a way to help get the upstate involved in this salsa experience. And so we partnered with them to bring live Latin music and dance to Main Street, Greenville, and it has just blossomed. This year was our biggest salsa events ever. We had up to about 800 people at a time downtown. Upstate International raised all the funds. We find sponsors and grants and donations so that there is no economic barrier to participating. The goal is to not have a $5 entry fee or a $10 or whatever, but to have it accessible to everyone. And because of that, the spirit of it is amazing. It's probably the most diverse event that I personally have participated in downtown Greenville. And people, if they don't dance, they come and sit out and listen to the music and enjoy the night air. This year it was at Camperdown Plaza, so we had lots of room to spread out. We do a free dance lesson to start the evening, so that gets people a little more comfortable in participating. And we have literally like newborn to age 85 that you'll see out there on salsa nights. So that in particular has become very much anticipated and beloved. Aside from that, we do many other cultural events, including some smaller events. This week we had our annual Glühwein German holiday party, which is really fun. And it's, it is it makes you feel the spirit of the holidays. So we have German food and decorations. We do raffles, the raffle of gifts, and that money is used by our international women's group who holds the event to donate back to another charitable cause. So they choose the women's charity of their choice, and we raise those funds to give back to the community as well. But it's great food, mulled wine, good camaraderie. That's always looked forward to. We have other events that are similar, such as a King's Cake Day at the beginning of the year. We'll often have events for Taste of a Culture. Taste of the World is a ethnic restaurant series that we go and hold a family style dinner and have the chef come out and talk to us about why they cook the way they do, why they use the spices they do, how the food developed in a country. And that's also a really fun way for us to highlight local businesses that are offering these tastes of their culture to the public. So we have those. There's an awful lot of them. Probably the biggest one, though, is Upstate International Month in March. International Month has kind of taken a life of its own these days. We act as the catalyst where we go out and find other businesses and organizations and universities to hold an internationally related event or activity. They can either do it internally for their employees or externally for the public. Such as we might have a coffee cupping by a coffee shop, or Oil and Vinegar downtown would do a tasting, or the Peace Center has their international performance. The library system will have bilingual story time. There are many, many different forms these activities take, but what we do is we advertise them all. So we take all those activities held by other organizations and events. We make an international calendar of events. We put up billboards that say fun on a global scale and let everyone know International Month is here. And we end up with about 110 to up to 200 events during that month that people can taste, touch, see, smell, another culture and experience the world kind of right here at home.
Yes. Yeah, because I know we do have, before COVID, we did have the one day, it was usually on a Sunday, with the international day kind of event on campus. Yes, which I'm sure was a part of what you mentioned. Yes, you do really have a wide range of cultural events and engage in the community, and that is so. It's really important, and I'm so happy that this area, because many people think that this part of South Carolina, South Upstate, we're small. Yes, we're small, and we do have a lot of rural communities here, but we're global as well, and we're embracing other cultures. We're learning about the world, and really learning to appreciate the other cultures and engage with them. So that's beautiful. And you mentioned the speaker series. I know, and if you could talk about that, because I know you do invite speakers. You do have these. In addition to your conference, which we could talk about afterwards, you have speakers on global issues. So if you could tell us a little bit about that as well.
I can. So the Beyond the Headlines speaker series is going on right now. It's a monthly lecture series on global impact issues, critical issues that are impacting the world every day, the types of things you see in the news. But we find speakers who are experts on the topic that really present the most fact-based, realistic, researched type of information, nonpartisan, non-political information on the topic. And they speak about it, present it, and then a big part of it is that we always have time for everyone's questions at the end. Our goal with this speaker series is to let people formulate their own opinions based on the most accurate information that we know of, that we can find. And we do find that quite often through academics. We use a lot of professors. When we first started the series several years ago now, and started looking at experts, internationally known or nationally known experts on various topics, we were surprised to find that we had tremendous talent resources available at our universities that if you were not in that academic world, you did not necessarily know about. So we started looking into that and found these fabulous speakers to head these series. Often topics will be anything from the rise of immigration or nationalism or NAFTA or elections in Brazil, climate change we've looked at in depth. Originally the pandemic and really the ways information was managed. There have just been a wide variety of topics. Next week, we have one on the U.S.-China trade war and really who won? What was the outcome? What do we really understand about what has happened in the dynamics of trade between those two countries? We'll do another one this spring that I'm really interested in, also called human tracking, not trafficking, but tracking, and how it relates to this kind of information goldmine for businesses versus these privacy rights and needs. Because human tracking has become big business globally. So we'll be delving into that topic as well. This coming week will be our first return to in-person lunch and learn style. We're really, frankly, very excited to move back to that from our Zoom model during COVID. But all of those events right now, we also record and put on YouTube after the event. So people can go online to Upstate International's YouTube channel and listen to some of those speakers.
Okay, yes, I remember a couple of months ago you had an interesting one about the China in Africa, which
Yes.
That a lot of people don't know about that, but it is really expanding in that part of the world.
And of course, China and Africa just this past week is heavily back in the news with some of the rights for China that are happening on the coastline. So yeah, it's an ongoing area that we'll continue to watch.
Yes, exactly. And of course, geopolitics, economics, all that is part of culture. That's all that is part of what makes people who they are. And so it's, you incorporate all of that. So tell us about your conference. I know you host a conference every year. So could you share that, please?
Well, this will actually be our first two-day conference called Global Upstate, right now tentatively scheduled for March 28th through the 30th, with March 28th being an opening reception night, and then 2 full days of conference on the 29th and 30th. We're really excited, and I tell you why. Global Upstate, I have not seen a similar opportunity within hours of where we're at as far as this type of conference. There will be 2 tracks to the conference. We'll have an international business track and a foreign affairs track. So we'll have a joint keynote sessions and breakfast and lunch type events, but between we'll have the 2 tracks that you can go to sessions on depending on your interest area. It will be hosted right now at Yonts Center at Furman University. We're very excited. We'll have a panel on transportation, trade, and logistics. We'll have a breakfast on international trade, which will focus on C-level executives and the South Carolina Consular Corps. We have a number of retired ambassadors or past ambassadors, I should say, because they're not retired. They're leading think tanks and businesses and other things that have already committed to come speak as well. So we're really excited about it. It's a huge undertaking for us, though. We are looking for corporate partners right now to help support that conference, and also working on fleshing out our breakout session topics. So,
what is the attendance usually like at the conference?
Well, this is our first conference of this nature.
Oh,
We
it
do,
is. Oh, okay.
yes,
Oh,
we
wow.
participate in the World Affairs Council's national conference in DC, but that's a much larger picture.
Mhm.
This will be our first conference that we've held locally to focus on foreign policy or foreign affairs and international business.
Okay. Yeah. I wishing you every success. And of course, by before the time for the conference, this recording will be out, and that will be a way of helping to let people know that it's coming out. Your organization is really, really busy doing a whole lot in our region, upstate of South Carolina, um, for the international community. So, what has been the response of international residents in the area to your organization and its programs and the services you offer?
Well, I think in general, if the international residents have already been here a while and they don't know about us, they usually ask, why didn't I know about you already? For us, being a smaller nonprofit, we are still very much kind of word of mouth. We earn our media. We don't usually pay for advertising. So it's those personal connections that kind of grow what we do in large part. For new incoming international residents, they generally just say, I am so glad that I found a way to connect and build friends right away. One thing I think that we'd like to do better is to reach more people when they first get here. That's a challenge for us because generally, if we could get our information into the hands of more, say, HR people, more realtors, more people who connect with new incoming residents, that would help us because we find then when we can engage right off the bat, it opens a larger window. Sometimes we have cultures move into the upstate and they look for people who speak their own language and culture. Perhaps they don't have a comfort level with communicating in English or in navigating the way we do things. And so we like to help open that door of comfort, that comfort level to where then people interact. We find that there is so much give back to the local community from these international residents when they feel like they're wanted, that engagement's wanted.
Yes.
There's so much. And on the flip side, if we don't reach them, sometimes people come in and they kind of stick with their own comfort culture and don't expand out of it. Now, that may work perfectly well for them. That is a personal choice. But what I think sometimes it's because we haven't shown them that there is a choice. And also, what do we as a community miss out on, right? If we have cultures that really segment themselves out, then what is our community missing out on from what could be an amazing learning experience and engagement? So we're always looking for new ways to meet those cultures and those families and residents. And the visitors too. We have quite a number of people who come here and visit, and we've had a number come back and retire here or move here later and say, we enjoyed our time in the upstate so much. We felt so much wanted by everyone we met that they come back and stay.
Okay, wow, that's beautiful. So, what about local residents, though? How have local residents been responding to the programs that you offer? I know you mentioned how big Salsa at Sunset was this year, but in addition to that,
I think local residents, frankly, I've never had any negative feedback. I think that our only challenge is, again, letting our local residents know the opportunities to engage are here. Generally, that comes when they look at us for a language class or they see a Salsa at Sunset event, and then they look to find out more. So something that is a well-known activity that we do often is known better than the organization itself. So that cultural event opens the door to local residents finding out more about what we do. Yeah, but it's always been very supportive feedback. And like I said, with the exception of, I wish I'd known about you sooner.
Yes, that would be what
Yeah,
I would say.
yeah. One thing, that I think upstate residents tend to do, specifically Greenville, Spartanburg area, is that because these international companies, a lot of them have been here for a long time now, we just kind of don't think about the cultural opportunities around us. They're just under the fabric of what we do. If someone works for a large international company, they don't necessarily think outside of that, hey, that means that there's this great world culture or learning experience about it. It's kind of become part of the fabric within our community. So sometimes it's neat to say, hey, are you taking advantage of it? Are you looking at how to engage within that culture? And yeah, it's all been positive though. That upstate's a pretty amazing place.
I agree. So what are your reflections on how Upstate International has contributed in general to the fostering of cross-cultural awareness and interculturality in the upstate of South Carolina?
I look at this dynamic and I do wonder if Upstate International had not been started as the International Center of the Upstate some 24 years ago. I wonder if those companies would have stayed, would have felt at home here, if this would have become such a beacon of global engagement in our area. I'm not sure it would be the same. I think Upstate International and that commitment to celebrating diversity ongoing, diversity is not a buzzword for us. It's been what we have breathed for all these years, and it's a broad diversity. It's a diversity of country, religion, gender, backgrounds, all of those things. It's a broader sense of diversity. And I think, we have a lot of work to go still. We all know that we have a lot of work to go. But I think without this organization, there would not have been the same focus on building the sense of community with these individuals and companies moving here to where those companies wanted to not only stay, but others saw how thriving those organizations are and wanted to come here as well.
Mm-hmm. So if there are persons who are interested in getting involved in Upstate International, how can they do that and get to be a part of the organization, maybe get involved in your programs and events?
Well, the easiest way is just to either go on our website at upstateinternational.org or drop me an email at tracie@upstateinternational.org, and that's Tracie, Tracie. Or, stop in at the center. Our center doors are open from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on weekdays. We're right down the street from the Greenville Drive, very easy to find on Miminger Street. Come in, we'll sit down with you, have a cup of coffee, and get to know you a bit and see how you'd like to engage, where your areas of interest are.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and you can also, through our website or email, sign up for our weekly e-newsletter. Our weekly e-newsletter is pretty cool because it doesn't just share our events and activities. We will promote any other nonprofits globally related events and activities. So you will find chances to engage with many other organizations and university events and other types of international opportunities, whether it's a festival, a musical performance, our international women's group, or our international book club, speaker series. All of that comes out on Fridays in that e-newsletter. So that's a great resource.
Yes. Okay, thank you. And I just wanted I got this from your website and I meant to mention it before. So I noticed, is this part of your motto. It says embracing and empowering all nationalities in a thriving upstate. Is that the
Yes,
motto of the organization? Right. So
it
this is
it it is. The tagline on our logo says South Carolina, including the world, begins with you and I. And that you and I, like you and I today, really goes back to the heart of this organization. Because in the end, it's all about the people, Melva. It's always all about the people. So our mission is to empower people and businesses of all cultures to thrive here in the upstate of South Carolina. And we do that by creating programs, events, initiatives, and most importantly, relationships that hopefully will last a very long time.
Yes. Thank you so much. And you've been so successful over the past 24 years. And I'm sure you'll continue to grow and thrive just the way the upstate is growing and thriving. I've been here, 9.5 years, and I've seen the growth in those years. And I know it's it's just continuing by leaps and bounds. And with an organization like Upstate International, we know you're just going to help that growth in terms on the people, as you said, you and I, on the people level. So thank you so much, Tracie, for being a part of our Culture to the World today. Is there anything else you'd like to say in closing?
Just thank you for having us. I really do appreciate it. The opportunity is fabulous, and tell people to check out your other episodes. I went online and watched, and it's fabulous.
Thank you. Thank you for the thumbs up, Tracie. Okay. And to the viewers, thank you so much for watching. We're going to see you soon as we meet new people and share their experiences in our next episode of Our Culture to the World. Right, Tracie?